Good night, good night. Here went down tonight. God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Aaron J. Spirit Divine. I'm here to give you a little shout news on today. First we're gonna start with the missing immigrant. You know, they left an hour before the storm, the landfall, and got on a boat. And then all that wind came, and the boat had sunk. So the Coast Guard suspended the search. For 16 immigrants that were missing. The boat had sank off Florida during a hurricane. So United Coast Guard has suspended the search for 16 immigrants who are still missing, after their boat capsized off the Florida. Now two bodies had previously been recovered. Thank God of that. So now the boat sank an hour before hurricane made landfall. So you know, it just say you got a storm coming and it said mandatory evacuation. Don't leave an hour before. Do not take a boat, please. Try to leave a day before. And try to get out of there. Do not take a boat. When they have a hurricane, do not take a boat to escape. So now they had four immigrants were able to swim to Stock Island. And that was good. That was good. So they had four of them were able to swim, and they swam to this island, and they were safe. So a total of 9 people had been safely located and rescued. Remember it started out with 16 missing immigrants. So you had four were able to swim, and then they recovered 9 people. So that's good. So the Coast Guard said 2 bodies, one near the ocean and one near Radical Channel, had been recovered. So most of the bodies has been recovered. You know, so taken to sea anytime, especially an hour before the storm, can be risky. We can see that. So you had Robert Kinsley. He said taking a sea during a hurricane is reckless. So Iris Stone then made landfall near Cayo Costa, Florida, as a major Category 4. Now, that was a Category 4 storm. So that kind of big storms, with strong winds. So you don't want to take a boat when you're trying to evacuate. You want to try to leave a day before the landfall. Don't take a boat. They're very risky. So the second strongest possible category on storm, you had strong wind scale. So the wind was strong. That's why the boat was able to start sinking. You know, so I advise anyone cross the nation. When they say mandatory evacuation, and they tell you to leave, but don't leave an hour before. Leave a day before. And if they do say at the last minute evacuate, still please do not take a boat. So leave 2 to 3 days before the storm. You know, before it make landfall. So I thank God that some of them were able to swim and some of them was rescued. So now we're gonna talk about this human remains was found. So someone reported that the skull they found a skull and to be a human uh, piece of skull. So the police investigate after human remains reported found in also killing a 12-year-old boy. So 12-year-old boy, it was 5 kids. She buried 4 of them, but she did not bury the 12-year-old boy that are still missing. So British police on Friday, they investigate after an alter prominent murder killing with 12-year-old boy in 1964. So he started investigating the boy. It started in 1964 because the mama been looking for the boy. He been missing since like 1963. So claimed to have found human remains. The boy Key was one of the 5 victims of the child serial killer, Brady and Mara, who buried all the kids except one. you know. So these two murders, Brandy and Myra, It's a brutal killer of crimes that carried out between July the 1963 to 1965. Now the boy was missing in 1964. So that means they had other killings, the other five kids that must have killed them in 1963 because it was other killing and kidnap. So wishing several assault still inspires, horror today. Mass Transit Police been contacted on Thursday about the author who had been researching the death of Keith Bennett, and he's still been searching for this boy. So they start searching, when they reported of the skull being found. So he was missing in 1963, and the skull was reported in 1964. So that's when he really started searching for the boy in 1964. So when the skull was reported, that's when they discovered what believed or potential human remains uh, in the location. That's when they discovered other, human spirit. Human remains in in that location. 'Cause remember it was five of them, and it probably was more than five. Yeah, so they had so many kidnapping, and they're trying to connect all the kidnapping together. So they found four other bodies, except one. So, Brandon and Mark, they finally confessed, and they in jail since 1966, for the murders of the other three children. So right now, they have two, the girl and the boy. So the horrified evidence, not just the video of the girl, horrified evidence found she was bound in tape, recorded of her begging for help, as she was tortured and sexual assaulted. So she been sexually assaulted at the same time being tortured and crying and begging for help. That could be horrifying for a child to see a child, being brutal attacked like that. And the first thing a child gonna do is call for their mom. Because that could be horrifying watching something like that. So years later, the couple, confess. Brandon and Myra, they confess. Or the 16-year-old Carlene Rich. So they wind up and said where she was buried. They saw the video, but they still didn't know where she was at. So when they confessed where she was at. Because you remember, they found the three remains body. When they found the skull, they started digging and found the three remains of the three children. So now Pauline is the girl, was on the video. The body was located in 1987. It was in a grave. Still, she was still dressed in her clothes when she would disappear when they kidnapped her. Had her in a grave, still dressed in her clothes. So that means all them kids, that she kidnapped and brutally like that. Them kids had never took no bath. Them kids had the same clothes on since they kidnapped and killed her. So the author who contacted the police, he bring in a team of experts in order to try to solve the long running mystery of where the boy was buried. They still haven't found this boy yet. They're still looking for this boy. You know, And so the tiny pieces of clothing had been found along with part of the skull that buried there 3 feet down. So they found the skull. So they wound up looking and they found some little pieces of clothes and they were buried 3 feet down below. So Myra died in prison. This one of the murderers died in prison in 2002. Then the guy Brandon, the murderer, he died in 2017. So now Keith's mother. Now the mother, she been looking for her son ever since he been missing, and up until her death. So Keith's mother, Miss Johnson, who died in 2012, she's been trying to locate her son all her life, until her death in 1990, into 2012. She took a picture of her son in 1995. Remember, he been missing since 1963. And she been looking for him ever since. So she took a picture of him, and that was in 1995. So I am an unsolved missing divine. So I will meditate on locating Keith tonight. And I'll come back and let y'all know on the next video. So we talk about the immigrant. First it started out with 16 immigrant missing because they left hour before landfall of this storm, and the boat sank. And I had said the boat is the last result. To take. Because remember the storm is out there in the ocean. So the boat is the last place that you're gonna take to try to escape from the storm. Please don't take a boat, even at the last minute. Don't take a boat. They try to dodge the traffic. Don't take the boat. They say mandatory evacuate. Get out of there. Leave a day before and get out of there. I'm a witness of Katrina. So it was four of them were able to swim, went to the island, and the rest of them was recovered. So we have four that swim, and then we had most of the body was recovered. So we also just talk about the children remains that this couple had just kidnapped these kids, brutally attacked these kids, and just killed them and buried them. She buried all four, but did not bury the one because she probably know the mother was looking for them. And sometimes they try to hurt the mother the most when they know the mother is looking for their child. So that's the only one she did not bury, and he is still missing. So I'm unsolved missing divine, and I will meditate on him tonight to try to locate him. So that's all the show news I have for y'all on today. Y'all have a blessed night, and I see y'all on the next video.